Education and our teaching staff and our high school administration should be very proud of. If you look at the total number of students in 2013, the total number of students with that had scores of 3+, and the percentage of total AP students with scores plus. You look at that, how we've opened up access significantly to students, and our test scores have really remained quite high, particularly for a district like ours. So it's something I'd like to acknowledge the hard work of our students, the trust of our parents, the support of our teachers in making this all happen. But that was really what the Board of Education envisioned way back when we were talking about those. Seems like such a long time ago, 2013. But really, if you want to see a tangible reward, there it is right there, just looking at that in terms of an increase in number of students, the number of exams, and really the passing percentage of the total AP students with scores 3 and above, still above, and I would argue well above 90%. And that's something, again, we should be very proud of. ACT is becoming much more popular in the Northeast and in Hopewell Valley. Here's just a 2-year retrospective comparison of 2017 to 2018. Here you see our composite score of, for this year is at 25.7, and you see math, science, English, and reading. Again, we're outperforming the state and well above the national average. SAT mean scores. So now this is the new SAT. So if you remember from last year, they had the concorded SATs, which were some old and some new during the transition. This is all the news. This is all the new SATs. Now there's, the way they report the scores now are the essay is optional. So you have 2018 our critical reading scores and our mathematics. So if the students, the mean scores of students who took the SATs without the essay was 608 and 602. And students who took the SATs and the essay, their mean score for critical reading was 622, and mathematics was 617. Again, outperforming New Jersey significantly and outperforming the nation. So that's something, again, we track these, they give us some good input, but you can see that we've seen an increase over the years. This is, because it's some new SATs, the jury is still out, and how that will trend over the next couple of years, but we'll continue to watch that. As I told my son, the SATs that I took were before they were recentered, they were much harder. And these are the SAT subject area tests. Again, we have a number of students who take the subject area test. Here's a breakdown of that. And their mean scores, so the mathematics level 2, we had 41 students, chemistry, US history, and then we only had a handful of students moving down the line with that. So they don't provide means for anything under 10. So that is my spiel of wasn't that boring, was it? So somebody asleep. All right. That's our achievement report for for November 12th, 2018. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. When you were talking about the park scores, you made reference to the fact that the state board and the state overall has listened to parents and educators. I'd like to point out that not only were the parents and educators vocal, but our board took a lead statewide as far as requesting changes to the park. Years ago, we were among the first in the state to do a resolution to point out the opportunity cost of the excessive amount of time that the park was taking from our students. And I just wanted to just send a shout out to our entire board that we were in the forefront of pushing for those changes before they occurred. And it is good that they're listening. We were very vocal about the stakes associated with the park as well. The park did have some merit as far as information that you could call from it, which was actually better than the NJS. the issues with the park were more centered around the fact that they were using the park for inappropriate means. They were using it to judge teachers, which was not what it was designed to do. They were using it as a graduation requirement, again, which was not what it was designed to do. And our board definitely took a lead at both the state level and at the legislative level to try and push to get those changes. So I'm happy to see them make that.
I think there was an op-ed written at the New Jersey Spotlight, written by our own Lisa Wolf about specifically highlighting that about the park not being designed for what it was being used for.
Sorry, quick question. Just looking at the data. Can you talk about 8th grade math? I understand that it's split between the regular 8th grade math and Algebra 1. I guess it's in your second slide.
Yeah.
But it still looks to be that 8th grade math, we have a large preponderance of underachievers, about 50%.
So specifically, one of the issues with 8th grade math is we're in a district which I would argue is accelerated, so many of our students take algebra in 8th grade. So what that number is really reflective of those students who are not taking algebra in 8th grade, because many of our students take the algebra end of course exam.
Yeah, and I agree. I think if you average, you look at adding the two numbers together in the regular 8th grade math and the Algebra 1, you probably get back to some kind of standard distribution, which you have in all the other kind of groups. I'm concerned that the folks that aren't taking 8th grade, or aren't taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade, seem to be lagging behind.
Can I point something out? It isn't just algebra. We have a preponderance of students in 8th grade also taking geometry. So I think what the number that you should be looking at is what is the total number of students in the 8th grade versus how many of those students are actually taking the 8th grade exam, because it isn't just algebra, it's also geometry, and what you're looking at is a very small percentage of students who are taking that 8th grade exam.
It's fair. Over half of those that small group, right, which is the standard at 8th grade, it's 8th grade math.
It is the state standard.
State standard, right? So I understand if we have 70% of our students, 80% of our students in Algebra 1 or geometry, they're exceeding, right? For those folks that aren't, they're not meeting the basic requirements, right? And it's a glaring, it comes up in the data, it's glaring in the data. And to me, it's something to be looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I know Ed Programs had that discussion for a couple of years addressing that. Overall, our Timberland scores have improved in math and language arts. However, we still have areas to work on, and that is one of them. But it is, if you just reflect on this number, this is one of the issues that we have with the data we've had for a number of years. And, unfortunately, I think that was reflected in some of the third-party assessments of our district. Just look at that information, and it's not an accurate representation of kind of where we are. That being said, every student should be performing to their optimum level, so we have identified that, and we're working to adjust that in middle school.
I did have a question as well. I was going to ask this.
Yes, Dr. Smith, can I just ask a follow-on question with regard to that discussion?
Sure.
I guess the question is, in terms of the efforts that the mathematics department has made in terms of aligning curriculum to better reflect the overall state expectations, which wind up creating, working towards the park. I guess the question is, I know a lot of what we've been working and making sure our students have exposure to is centered around 7th grade math, Algebra 1, etc. Are we at the point now where we feel we're adequately aligned with regard to that 8th grade mathematics curriculum? Are we at that point, or is there still some work being done?
There's still some work being done, but the vast majority of adjustments were made probably 18 months ago. So we really should be seeing the fruits of that labor over the next year or so. So this time next year, my expectation is these results will look different.
If I could ask just one other question, just in terms of our overall to reviewing the data we get from the park. You know, one key area we're looking at is certain student cohorts related to economics and certain demographics. Is the intention to review those in greater detail to see how we're doing against some of the district goals when the final report for the final achievement report comes out?
Yes, I think some of the data that was provided to the board does break out some of those subgroups, and that's something that's been a focus of mine and Dr. Teresa's over the last couple of years, is really focusing on those subgroups. And to Mr. Markulec's point, although our subgroups are relatively small in terms of number of students on free and reduced lunch, for example, we should be able to make more of an impact because that number is so small in supporting them. So yes, Adam, we're looking at not only that, we're looking at gender, at race, and we're looking at that in everything from our AP classes to our special education classes and everywhere in between.
I just wanted to add one word on park refusals. If you look at your slide on the park refusals, we do see the park refusal numbers going down. I would caution you that there is a possibility that the high school numbers went down by over 100 students this year. It would not surprise me if that number were to start climbing again. I would guessing that the reason that the number went down was because park was going to be mandated for high school graduation, so students were going to be forced to take it. I think one of the changes that will be moving into place is that alternates will be available for graduation besides park, and so I caution you that that number may begin to climb again in the high school, because especially in a district such as ours, many of our high school students feel that the SAT or ACT is a more helpful test in the high school when they start moving forward. I would argue that in an elementary school, park does offer some helpful results that you can use to move forward. I'm not really certain how much it applies, for example, for a high school junior to be. Just a caution that while we like seeing those numbers drop, I think at the high school level, it may not continue.
Thank you. Anyone else? Members of the public are invited to address the board on any matter for a maximum of 3 minutes during this portion of the meeting. You are asked to state your name, address, and municipality. In response to your comments, the Board of Education may respond or direct the superintendent to do so. The board may also opt to take the matter up at a future meeting so that the matter is researched by district administration. Public comment is now open.
Good evening, board members, President, Dr. Smith. I'm Mr. Zlot. I'm from Levittown, Pennsylvania. I've been a math teacher here at Hopewell Valley since 2000. I have a couple of concerns with this contract that's not being really negotiated in a timely manner. If we're not going to fact finding until January, that's a big concern for us as teachers. As I mentioned last time that I was here, a lot of the things that are happening, even though the board probably means good to come out of it, yeah, they probably do it with the best of intentions. Some negative results are happening with longevity. I got $1,000 longevity, but my insurance premiums went up from 26% to 28%, negating it. Not only negating it, but costing me take-home pay from, I think it's a $40 difference every pay period. So they gave me $1,000 longevity, but I'm taking less home every pay period. To me, that's a slap in the face, and it needs to be addressed in the new contract. That can't happen. If you want to, complement or boost your educators, you can't just say, here's $1,000, but by the way, you're going to take out $1,200 for your premiums. So that needs to be addressed. The other thing is, you heard from Shabani that the cross-country team won sectionals. It was awesome. Okay, they ran really well. Will Titus, Sean Dolan, Alex Dumont, Jonathan Connor, Sam Fowler, Gavin Fowler, and Elliot Brown, Vanguarder. They all ran incredible. And it would be nice if the board said, you know what, for a coach or a team that goes past the regular season, they need to be compensated. For the last 2 weeks, I'm still making the same pay that I made as if I had stopped 2 weeks ago. To me, that's another slap in the face. All right, you guys did a great job, now you get to work free for 2 weeks. Who thinks that's a good idea? Probably not everybody on this board. Probably not anybody on this board. We need to address that. The other thing I wanted to bring up, there's a new schedule implemented at the high school. And it was agreed upon by the board and the administrators, and it created an AR period, an academic recitation period, which is great for the students. But in doing so, it increased the number of minutes for AP teachers over the contracted number of minutes from the contract that we're working on. And we thought that we'll go to the board and say, look, we're over our contracted minutes, can you compensate us? And it was told, no, we don't do that anymore. Eventually, I think it is going to be resolved, okay, but we had agreed that.
Your time is up.
That's 3 minutes. Oh,
It was actually a little over 3 minutes because I forgot to start the clock.
All right, well, please consider us when you're going back and negotiating, because some of the things that are in the contract need to be fixed. When your premiums go up more than your salary, we're taking less money home. That's why everybody has multiple jobs. I tutor, I wait tables, I do construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slot. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Public comment is now closed. I would just like to reiterate that that we definitely have the same concerns that you have, Mr. Slot, and agree that it would be beneficial to iron out some of those issues in the next contract. So we're looking forward to some resolution in the coming months.
I'd like to comment too, that I agree with you that it is a hardship that we need to wait until January. I was hoping personally to have some impact. I will be off the board by that time, and in the past I have worked hard to help you guys get a contract, and we've done it in the past, and it is a disappointment to our board as well that the time is going to drag out until January. I agree with you.
Moving on to old business. Seeing none. Consent agenda. Is there anything, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there anything that can wants to start or discuss on the consent agenda?
I would, on the Ed program agenda, I'd like to remove number 4 from consent.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of what's left on the consent agenda?
Aye.
Those abstain? Motion carries. Finance Officer.
I have to move my change orders.
Thank you.
Second.
So we met tonight and, annually we discussed the audit from the previous budget. The audit apparently went pretty well. We found no items, and for the 7th year in a row, our business team has received a certificate
Mr. Colabita, do you continue to have wall space to hang all of those awards?
So that's a really cool thing, you know, the state's putting out some changes in the budget process, so we talked kind of about that, how it would be inserted into next year, or actually into the filing for this year. We talked about the referendum, so we're definitely making some good forward progress with things. Obviously, there's still some delays in certain areas. Our finance, our facilities director has been working closely with the teams, you know, PDS specifically, and so we definitely see some forward progress. We had some more certificates of occupancy that have been coming in, so that's a big win, I think, for everyone. In the end, there'll be a few punch list items that have to get done throughout. We had with the changes, the change orders. There was really one big one that stood out. We pulled it out from the budget. It was on one of a few of the previous meetings. It's getting put back in because of the scope, the change in scope, and then just some additional cost for the lower lot reconstruction, paving reconstruction that has to happen. But outside of that, I don't have anything else.
I'm just curious in general, like the 39,000 for the parking lot, was that stuff that couldn't be anticipated, or what was the cause of that increase?
Yeah, so this was basically came down to the base structure of the pavement when they scraped all the old, what do you call the macadam, right? That's the base structure underneath. It just wasn't big enough, so it was determined that in order to make this, sustainable, so it didn't shift at all, we had to rebuild this structure underneath.
Any other questions?
I just have a question, an update on the media centers at the elementary schools.
Tonight we discussed that we hope to take ownership of the 3 media centers, not including Barrett Tavern, by the end of the month. Barrett Tavern had some issues with the floor, that we're waiting to put the floors down. There's some the majority of them, there's casework is all that remains, so the major renovations are completed. We're waiting for the casework, the new casework to go in, and the Barrett Tavern will also be forward. But yes, there were some delays getting started on those. We should have started a lot quicker than we were. Again, we hope to have it by the end of the month.
By the end of the
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion carries. Personnel.
I'd like to move the personnel agenda.
Second.
Thank you.
So tonight we met as a committee and we reviewed the personnel agenda. We reviewed mid-year appointments of a new campus safety director for Tavern, as well as folks going out on leave and who will be filling in for them. And then we discussed the annual Governor's Educator of the Year Award as well as this professional award, and that information was sent out there on October 29th, and nominations are due by Friday the 7th, and we will honor the recipients at our March meeting. So please encourage all parents and community members to make their nominations. And then we did have an update that we've already spoken about the
Thank you. Mr. Colleen, may I have a roll call, please?
I have some questions.
Oh, sorry.
On the extracurricular appointments, it looks like there's been some changes made, and I wanted to know why moving from a step 9 down to a step 3 results in a $300 increase.
Which one?
If you look at extracurricular appointments, the very first one listed, is rescinding level 5, step 9, and approving level 5, step 3. So they're going from a step 9 down to a step 3 with an increase of $300.
I'm going to check on that. I'm wondering whether or not the step is actually off as far as the category, whether it's step 5.
Okay, I think I had a similar question on the other one I had. Similarly, we are rescinding on the third person listed. We go from level 3, step 5 to level 3, step 5 with a $2,400 decrease, same level, same step.
They split it,
Are you talking about the Timberlane musical?
Yeah.
Yeah, so originally we approved Joan Shubin to be the full director. However, she decided to split that stipend with another individual. So based on years of experience, the individual that she's splitting with is just starting out. However, Joan's been doing it for a few years, so the calculation's different. She would get a little bit more than the individual who was doing it just for the first time.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that the one that's being rescinded was like a full-time slot, and then it's being replaced by 2 people half-time? So-
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And I had one more. Actually, can you just explain to me, how do the steps work?
Based on years of experience. So if the individual obviously is starting out for the first time, they would start at step 1. If the individual comes to us from another district where they've had extensive experience, for example, producing or directing plays, then obviously we'd give them some credit for that, depending upon how many years experience they have in doing that. Very similar, obviously, coaches, when we put coaches on our guys.
Okay. So, how are you handling the answer to the first question?
Looking at it now.
And I'm assuming that, again, on the fourth one that you rescinded and replaced, that person just has additional experience that you're giving them credit for? Is that the reason?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like what we did is, when we approved Brian at level 5, step 9, that was inaccurate, that number. If you look at our teacher's guide, level 5, step 9 is actually $3,908. So we adjusted based on the level 3, but we were way off as far as the first approval that we put through. That's why we were rescinding it.
So is it correct on the approval?
Correct, it was incorrect on the first approval.
Right, but when you look at level 5, step 3, is 2986 accurate?
Level 5, step 3 is correct, yes.
Anything else? Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Markowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Swicky?
Yes.
Ms. Tracy?
Yes.
Ms. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. DiDonato?
Yes.
Ms. Murray?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Anything to report for Ed program?
No, we don't have anything. We did not have a meeting tonight.
You need to move
Yeah, but
for
we
the
have your motion.
I do?
Item 4, extracurricular, we pulled that off. Consent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have a second then?
Second.
So no, nothing else to report then.
So my question is on the extracurriculars number 4, which has been removed from consent. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 clubs: Operation Smile, Habitat for Humanity, Girls in Engineering, and Shatz Club. Are these paid stipended extracurricular clubs?
No.
Okay, so there are sponsors and teachers listed for each. Do you have sponsors and teachers who are actually committed to running these clubs?
Yes, however, I believe they're on hiatus. We don't know the future of what they put this in earlier in the year. So we're assuming that they're moving forward, but as you are aware that teachers are not meeting with students at this time.
So my question to the board is, should we be approving clubs right now that the teachers have actively told us that they're not planning on sponsoring?
I guess the downside would be that if they were to want to resume activity and we haven't approved them, then they'd be held up for another month or two, depending on when our next meeting will be. Is there a downside to approving them?
I know at least one supervisor is going to oversee it in lieu of the teacher.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if we have commitments that people are going to run these clubs, then I have no problem accepting them. I have spoken to some students who have approached me and told me that they were unhappy, that they were unable to get their clubs moving. One of them specifically had to do with the election, and there was a club of students who wanted to be active in their civic duty and were unable to do so, and were told by their teachers that they were unable to move forward with their clubs. And the issue is that even if they were to move forward tomorrow, the election happened this week. So I was a little bit concerned about the fact that we had students who wanted to engage civically and were told that they were unable to do so. So if we have people who are actually going to be running clubs, then I'm all for it and I'll be voting for it.
I know that clubs are still meeting though, so they're not the supervisor, but I know during lunch, some of the student-run clubs are running. So I just happened upon one the other day.
Good. Well, I had suggested to those students that that they meet with either the principal or vice principal and talk to them about continuing to meet during lunch, and they told me that they were going to push that forward because they were under the impression that they weren't allowed to meet if they didn't have a sponsor. And I explained to them that, well, I couldn't be sure. I think if they speak to the vice principal, they could arrange something. And the vice principal mentioned to me that if they met in the media center, that somebody would be available for them so they'd be able to meet.
So is there a downside to approving of these clubs?
I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I don't know all of them, but I know one in particular, the supervisor is going to run it and get it up and running.
And if they're approved, then they're bringing together as soon as someone's ready, and it doesn't have to be held up longer.
Yeah, these are really very positive clubs, and we need to hold up the students if we don't need to.
I agree. I would hate to hold up the students if we don't need to as well.
Thank you. Did we just, all those in favor of approving the clubs?
Aye.
Those abstain? Motion carries. Thank you. Community relations?
What do you think? Community relations. So we are meeting on Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you. Policy? Mr. Sweet.
Okay, so let's see, for first reading, can I get a motion to move the policies up for first reading?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so we have 4 items here. We have policy 6162, corporate sponsorship, policy 6163, advertising on school property, regulation 7510, nothing to the use of the school facilities, and policy 9720, solicitation by vendors. I'll go over these in terms of the content in just a minute. The key things are, with regard to use of school facilities, this is we made some updates based on some of the discussions we had with regard to some questions the board got with regard to prioritization in terms of use of the school facilities. So the changes here are intended to reflect that discussion, basically ensuring we allow the superintendent to have the discretion to use the facilities in accordance with what we've laid out in terms of policy and the regulation. The others tend to deal with issues related to how we deal with signage for sponsors and advertising on school property, etc. Tom, if you wouldn't mind, one thing that came up today, we went through some of these and there were some editorial corrections, I guess. I coordinated that with you, so is it worth having you point some of these things out at this time?
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So as Adam said, I think there's editorial corrections, grammatical corrections, or another thing. So I really encourage the board to open the policies and look at them when you have a chance, because these are really what govern the school district's actions and how we do things. As Adam said, for the facilities one, Adam, if I could just jump back to that one. This is 7510, use of school facilities. We had a lot of discussion in the committee about prioritization and specifically who are directly affiliated organizations. And we determined the definition is that these are organizations that provide reciprocal services and or in-kind contributions to the district. And that we, as a district, will present to the board a list of these groups. We have a number of groups, and we're very fortunate who we partner with and we work closely with and do wonderful things for our school district. The Garden at Bear Tavern is a premier example of that. The Meadow over at Stony Brook. These are all things that were provided to the district through relationships with outside organizations. So that's the big part about that in terms of facility use and just kind of trying to memorialize what we do. The other parts of these were really, some were really kind of grammatical issues and some were conversations that I think we need to continue to have as a district regarding who can use our space, who can advertise on our space, what we're comfortable with allowing organizations to use as they come into us. We've gone the gamut from, I think, 2010 when things were tough. We had some board members who felt that we should, put a sign on anything. The Performing Arts Center should be the ShopRite Performing Arts Center or something like that. Where I think the board came to a good spot and said, we really want to feel comfortable with if we ever do that, but also kind of come to an understanding of what we are expecting and what we'll allow. We're doing a lot of work with school gardens and outdoor spaces. We have a lot of people who donate services and space and materials. At what point do we advertise for them? At what point don't we advertise for them? At what point do we provide signage or allow signage for that? At what point don't we? And that goes from everything to, whoever is renting tuxedos in the hallway of the high school during the prom, to long-term, operations of our district in terms of looking at the pond, the koi pond at Bear Tavern. What's going to happen there? So this was a first pass of doing that. I think particularly some questions were raised about corporate sponsorships and 6162 about district affiliated organizations. We had a conversation at policy about kind of changing that to move from any community organization to only allowing district affiliated organizations to do that. But that is, and you know what, I missed that last typo, accepted versus accepted. That is the policy company, by the way. Not to throw them under the bus, but. Bottom line is this is first reading, and Adam, I think we discussed, an opportunity for reflection on anybody to discuss about this. I don't want to put you on the spot, Lisa, but I know you had some concerns about several of these, so I don't know if you want to jump in or how you feel comfortable.
Yeah, at least with regard to the policy 6162, had some discussion today with regard to, restricting it to solely district-affiliated organizations. And I looked at it and I thought, I think from the standpoint of oversight under this policy, I think my intention was that once we went through the process of creating an agreement with these district-affiliated organizations, that would be sufficient for them to understand our philosophy and us to understand how they operate, and that based upon doing that, we would have a comfort level of them being, understanding what it would take to be in compliance with our policy and regulation. I think the concern came about if you had, say, one of those organizations basically having work done by some other commercial organization, making sure that they were in compliance with the policy. So I think we have to be a little bit more careful with this and maybe delineate it a little bit more in terms of specifying exactly when and how the different commercial organizations that work with the district need to be in compliance with this, and making sure that the superintendent always has oversight even in the cases of the district-affiliated organizations. Making sure that the people they bring into organizations that they're working with are going to be compliant with our policy and regulation.
So Adam, since that information that you just suggested is not yet in the policy, are we tabling this for the next meeting?
Yeah, having said that, I think perhaps that might be the best thing to do.
Okay. So we are pulling off 6162. That'll go back to the committee for first reading and further revision.
Yeah. Okay. Beyond that, I think, given some of those typographical corrections we did today, I think the other three up for first reading are acceptable. I'll point out one other thing with regard to, it's the policy 9720. I want to highlight some things there. We have some revisions there, and I think some of the key points we're making here is we're trying to limit solicitation by vendors to passive advertising, meaning, things handed out, or things directly solicited by students or parents, and basically putting into our policy that the district will not provide information such as emails, phone numbers, or home addresses to vendors that can use those to do direct solicitation of students. The other thing we've got in there, we put in a statement basically saying approval of a solicitor doesn't imply that we are endorsing all their services or programs. It just means that we're approving their ability to go ahead and provide that solicitation to students and parents.
So Adam, I appreciate what you've just described, and I think that we can use, I think what you just said verbally is good, and it is the intention of the policy committee, and I would say that I think that some of the wording that's highlighted here isn't completely reflective of what you just said. I'll be more specific. First of all, it says solicitation is limited to passive advertisements. Programs are endorsed by the district. I would like to have a more clear, emphatic definition that approval does not mean that it's endorsed by the district, period. Not that sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, or whatever else. I would like you to explicitly state that if we approve something to be solicited, that explicitly, that it should not be constituted as an endorsement by the district.
Okay, I agree with what you're saying there. So from that standpoint, Lisa, would you like to edit it now, or would you like us to go back and
I mean, if we have a second, I think it's pretty straightforward, I think we can
endorsement
edit
in
it.
there was good. And I think the point of that that statement was that, every solicitor even if we do approve of a solicitor, it does not necessarily mean that we approve every single thing that they're soliciting.
Right.
And it's good, I think it's good to add that word in there.
Say that again.
Endorsement, I mean,
You want to say that we are endorsing them or that we're not?
I think